Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of PAR Meet the Artist. A show where we showcase great artists from all over the world. And today, actually, we're in the UK. So, we don't get many UK artists through the show. So if I just get my guests to please introduce yourself, tell us your name, tell us what you do, and you're in the UK, but what part of the UK are you from?
Hi, my name is Daisy Chute, and I'm a singer-songwriter based in London, in England.
Perfect. That's really cool. Short and sweet. So let me go straight in. And I want to start from the beginning. So you've had such a diverse career. We think the first song we got from you was a Christmas track, but we'll come back to that. But we've been watching your stories, and you started off from All Angels, right?
That's correct, yeah. When I was a teenager, I was in a classical girl group, four of us singing in harmony. And so that was quite a interesting experience. I had 3 albums with them I did and lots of touring. And it was my first time, in the industry really, and it was it was really interesting and really fun, and I made lifelong friends and had some of the most amazing experiences performing at venues such as the Royal Albert Hall in London and other arenas as well around the UK, and traveled around the world a little bit too. And so that was really cool.
Like that. And so from there, you became a solo artist. Would
Yeah.
there be one thing in there from that time, at the early ages till now, that are stuck with you, kind of through
Mm.
your big promotion process?
Yeah. Collaboration, I think, is the big thing, the big word for me, and the big motivator for me. I love working with other people. I love the inspiration from other musicians and from other people you can work with, and also audiences, connection with audiences. Um, and I think I'm always drawn to working with other people. Even though I'm a solo artist, I have so many people who I work with within that, and I have every time I do a gig, I try and invite musicians to join me, and um, I'm very much a people person, so I like to be around other people, and I get inspiration that way, and find motivation and reason for doing what I'm doing.
Great answer. And I'm just going to kind of dig in a little bit more. So you're Scottish American, of Scottish American heritage.
Yes,
Um, has that influenced your music kind of creativity in any way?
absolutely. Yeah, I'd say growing up in Edinburgh, where I grew up in Scotland, there was a lot of music around me. Growing up, my family are very much music fans, and my mother played piano, and my grandmother was a music teacher, and my aunt was an opera singer. So I have had a lot of music in the family and growing up. And I would also be lucky enough to be taken to concerts of all kinds of genres, and a lot of jazz music in particular, which I also love very much. And my first record was actually a jazz album when I was 15, following many years of lessons and rehearsals and jam sessions with musicians and concerts. And also I was very lucky to be a choir girl as well when I was younger. So I got a scholarship to be in a choir, which was a really good experience for me, learning how to read music and to blend with other people, and such incredible music as well. And so so I think my location definitely was a big part of my inspiration growing up, and the music from Scotland, the Celtic folk music, was always around me as well. So that comes into my music now as a songwriter. From the American side, my mother's American, and so she would play a lot of American songbook music and other kinds of American artists. at home, and so I was always exposed to that as well. So definitely, I feel like I'm a product of these worlds and these locations that I grew up in. Yeah.
That's great, because we can definitely feel it in your music. Your sound, you have like a beautiful blend of folk, classical, and cinematic elements in your sounds.
Thank you.
So, how did you find that unique voice as an artist? You said about Edinburgh, you said about America, a lot of different influences. How do you find your voice and okay, this is the clear direction of where you would like to go?
Um, I guess it's through experimentation, through a lot of time on my own with instruments, playing and figuring out what I am drawn to and what I naturally able to do. I think you spend so many years at the beginning listening to music and being inspired by people, but it doesn't mean it's something that you personally should do or can do. So you start by, I guess, imitating other people, and then eventually you strip away all the pretense and eventually get to the bottom of you, and find
Mm,
out your unique voice and grow confidence in that. And that's I feel like a lot of when I teach musicians too, I sometimes teach young people, and it's often you start by drawing inspiration from other people, but eventually you kind of peel away the layers and find your distinctive voice. Um, and it's always a lifelong journey. I'm still always exploring and discovering new parts of myself and parts of the world. And yeah, it's this is one of the things I love about it, is that it's continual and there's no end point. It's just continual. It keeps on growing and expanding and distilling as well. Yeah.
no, absolutely, absolutely, because we can see how you're evolving, with your sounds, your songwriting, you can feel it. So heartfelt, very powerful songs. Um, and when you sit down to write your songs, so where do you start from? Do you start from, okay, I'm going to write the beginning of it? Do you start from the chorus, the lyrics? You say you take songs, so teach us something. Or do you start from your specific feeling?
Sure. So everybody's different with it. For me, I find the music comes very quick and easy for me. Like the melody, the chords. I find the thing that takes me a little longer is the words. I have to really take my time to find the right words and figure out what I'm trying to say, which sometimes is a big journey. Sometimes it's many months, sometimes years to finish a song. Sometimes a song happens in an afternoon, and I don't know why one and why not the other, but I just sometimes the luck of it. So I personally will start with unpicking words and a concept, and that will then motivate me to then be inspired and create music around the concept. If there's like a story, or if there's something, an emotion, or something that's happened in my life or somebody else's life, then that will often be an inspiration. I usually write down lyric ideas all the time, and or voice memo musical melody ideas. So whenever I have something come in my head, I'll make a record of it on my phone, and I will always label it song lyric idea or music idea, and then when I finally have time to sit down and do something with the idea, I have a record of all these different ideas, and I can bring them to life, hopefully. And sometimes it's good when you're doing a songwriting collaboration with somebody to have some of those ideas all ready to go, just so you have something to a stimulus to start a songwriting session. But you don't want to sort of have a finished song. You want to have the idea for a song, not the finished song. Otherwise, it's not so much a collaboration. I find I think you need to be able to be open to changing the idea as well. So yeah, that's usually my experience with songwriting. And I started off because I was found it easier to write music than lyrics. I started off by setting poetry to music, and then after that, I started to get more confident in my writing, and then started to write my own lyrics as well. Yeah.
Yes, that is perfect. You broke it down nicely for people that are learning to they're trying to be singers, and they can take a lot from that.
Thank you.
bit said there. Thank you so much for that. And you touched in collaboration, so I'm going to go straight into that bit. You've collaborated with so many incredible artists over the years. What's something surprising or valuable that you've learned from working with, people like you work with people like Radiohead and Justice? So, yeah.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, sadly, I haven't written any songs with these amazing bands, but I have been very honored to work with them in the studio singing for their albums, and that was really exciting to be part of. Especially Radiohead was really creative and unusual session. Like I also worked a little bit with the strings and the orchestra for that. I was helping Johnny Greenwood with the getting the music ready for the strings. So I was sort of looking at the orchestrations and printing out music and this kind of thing. So I was around in the studio for a few times during those sessions, and it's just such creative people and really interesting ideas. And I remember on that particular album, it was at the Moon Shaped Pool album. They got us to record everything, um, a few different versions of the same piece, one in the original key and then one I think it was like a fourth lower, and then they pitch shifted it up so that our voices had this really weird eerie effect. They did that with the strings as well, and it had such a interesting sound. And I'd never heard that before, and it was really inspiring to see how they worked, and quite experimental and open in the studio as well. So yeah, and I've had the pleasure of working with those guys, yeah, like these big names as well, like Sir Ray Davies, who's a songwriting mentor of mine. He's one of the founding members of the Kinks, who are quite famous British band, and they've written lots of big songs like Waterloo Sunset, like Sunny Afternoon, Lola, so many songs, and they've written a musical as well. Anyway, Ray is I had the pleasure of learning from him because he does songwriting retreats sometimes, and I happened to get a place on one, and so then that was an amazing week and so creative as well. Really quirky songwriting exercises, not things that you would expect. It wasn't sort of very much about commercial music or anything like this. It was all very creative and arty and exploring your surroundings and nature and books and films and your own stories, and like so it was really a really cool week of songwriting exercises, and we stayed in touch, and he's mentored me and since then. So yeah, I've had some amazing inspiration from these people. They're incredible.
It's really, really cool. There's a lot of names you mentioned. I need to go back and do more research because there's all
It's
these
okay.
songs that you've done that I'm missing out on. And kind of let's touch on one of your songs. So you have an EP called Maiden Mother.
Crone, yes, that's right. Maiden, mother, crone. Yeah.
So this a theme of womanhood and life stages. So what's your inspiration behind that? And how does it translate into personal topic a personal topic into music?
Sure. So the inspiration for that, it's four tracks. And I kind of wanted to take the concept of maiden, mother, crone, which is this thing in it's kind of a pagan idea of like the cycles of nature and of life and of a woman's life, I suppose, and these kind of these periods in your life where you kind of, as a maiden, you're young and you're experiencing life for the first time, and then as a mother, you're the next phase, nurturing the next generation, and then the crone is the sort of wiser, older lady who's learned from her life and imparting that wisdom, and that sort of cycle. So I ended up writing songs with those themes in mind, and so I have there's one called Woman, which is kind of about being a maiden, I suppose. There's one literally called Mother, which is obviously the idea of motherhood, and it comes from the perspective of being a daughter, because I'm not a mother, but being a daughter, and it's kind of in imagining a future in which I don't have my mother around anymore. So it's a kind of, it's a song about grief, I suppose, but it's,
Mm.
I'm very lucky that my mother is still here, and I don't have that grief personally, but I know a lot of people who've had the grief and have confided in me, and I can only imagine the feeling. So this is what that song is. And then Maiden Mother Crone, which is the track, the title track, that's kind of about the whole thing about the cycles. And then finally there's a fourth track which is called Spirit of the Singers, and it's all about generations and passing on traditions through songs. And so I list a lot of artists that I grew up listening to and being inspired by. And so there's a lot of musical artists, but I also mentioned my mother in that song too, because she's also one of my inspirations. And it's about the kind of carrying on of the voice and of the songs through the next generations, and sort of acknowledging the people who've come before us, paying respect to that.
Wow, that's absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Reading it and now you actually explaining it. Yeah, yeah, blew my mind.
Oh, thanks.
So, and let's kind of go back to your music career. You've done a lot so far. So you've played in some incredible venues, Royal Albert Hall, as you said, and you played at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Um, so is there a particular moment on stage where you're like, wow, am I really doing this? Is this really happening?
Oh yeah, I mean, uh, I don't know that I can't identify one particular moment. And at the I'm trying to, I suppose, yeah, stepping out on the Albert Hall stage, singing, and it was live televised. So many people. It was singing for the BBC Festival of Remembrance, and that was quite a moment of like, wow, this is big. The Queen was there, and we had to learn how to curtsy and all this kind of, it was quite a big moment. Um, but I think for me, obviously I had this incredible background with this band I was in, and all these other bands I've sung for, as we mentioned. But I think for me, the thing I always wanted to do when I was doing all these big things was really write and share my own music, which it took me a long time to finally do, because it takes such a lot to be vulnerable and to want to show all of you, not just your singing, but also your, the inner emotions, the things that we keep a little bit close to us. So I really wanted to do that. And so when I first started gigging my own music, those were even though they were smaller gigs, they were some of the best gigs, because I felt like I was being true to the musical intention I had. And it was scary, but really important and really good that I did. And I'm glad I took that leap.
That's beautiful. We're glad you definitely took that leap because that was a mental moment.
Oh, thank you.
So, and we talk about you in the studio, talk about you live. Which one of these do you prefer the most? Because they're two different energy, they're two different things. Take two
Absolutely.
different.
Yeah, different parts of you. Yeah, I love both. I don't think I could choose one over the other. I feel like, in the studio, that's when you can be creative. And I remember when I was in the studio for the last EP, the Maiden Mother Crone one, I'd written the title track, and I'd already written it. I thought I'd already written it anyway. And then I came to the studio, and then I rewrote it all completely, and I changed the time signatures, and I made this whole other arrangement with the producer. And that was really exciting, to like just be creative and to realize that everything is adaptable and everything is open. And that was a really fun process. So I love the creative process. I love the songwriting. I love the arranging and getting other musicians involved and other sounds and being experimental. And I like that you can do that in your own time. You have a little bit of freedom. Whereas obviously when you're doing it live, you have one take. That's it. You don't have many times to try it. But I love the energy you get from the audiences and from the room and from the adrenaline and the random things that can happen in gigs as well, where the song can take on a whole new life again, and the song that you thought you knew becomes something else again when it's live. And so I like that as well. I like that they can, even these songs that have been around for a while for me, they can transform, and depending on who I'm playing with, it can change completely as well. So it's yeah, I wouldn't be able to choose between the two. I think they both work together really well, and I think if you have too much of one, then you miss the other, and so it's everything in balance. I've been doing a lot of live music, and so I'm excited to be doing more studio work soon because I've missed it. So I'm going to be going back in the studio a lot more.
Nice, nice, nice. So we're expecting new albums coming soon.
Absolutely.
And let's kind of talk about this bit. Yeah, yes, so if you are going on a long road trip and you could bring three albums with you, whether yours or whether other album, or just three, which ones would they be and why?
Oh, wow. That's a good question because actually I'm about to go on a long trip around the UK next month. But especially we're going to Cornwall, which is really far away. So there's lots of time to listen to music. So this is a really good question. I need to learn. I need to figure out what it is I'm doing so I can get prepared. Um, I have so many favorite albums. I think I always like to listen to something new as well so that I can keep expanding and keep growing. Um, so I probably would listen to anything new by the artists that I already enjoy, as well as see what I can discover. I guess like comfort. I mean, I'm trying to think of the actual. I mean, my kind of go-to comfort artists that I always love hearing are people like Joni Mitchell and Laura Marling, and these people who I grew up listening to for a long time and who kind of made me almost want to be a singer-songwriter to begin with. Um, but I've been discovering so many cool new people as well, and yeah, I'm finding it really hard to make a choice. There's an album that I really love that always brings me such joy, um, and it's by Bobby McFerrin. You know Bobby McFerrin, and the album is like a completely choral a cappella album, and it's just so infectious, and so it takes you on such a journey. It's such a beautiful sound and arrangements. And it's called Vocabularies. So I maybe that would be one of the albums. It's also really good road trip music because it kind of has this energy and this momentum, and it just takes you on its own journey. So it's really good for that. Um, I also One of my favorite albums is, as I mentioned, Joni Mitchell, Travel Log, which is a beautiful album of orchestral versions of her songs. So her songs, of course, are gorgeous in their original form, but so nice hearing the beautiful orchestral arrangements as well. They're so cinematic, and so just have a whole. And the words have a different meaning when you hear them with the older voice as well. So I really love that one. And then, as I say, a third album, I would probably do something new that I haven't really heard lots because I'd like to try and find new things to love too. So I might sort of, I don't know, there's some artists that I love that are kind of newer at the moment, people like Madison Cunningham, who's like a really interesting artist from America who's got some quirky, quirky songs and like different kinds of feels, and I find that inspiring. So I think that probably answers it enough.
Absolutely, that nails you on the head. Thank you so much. And now you know what to go on your road trip with.
Yeah,
You just have
thank
to.
you.
It's a long trip to Cornwall, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I need a few more than that. um, and kind of looking forward, tight you what's coming up. You say you have an upcoming tour. You're looking to go back in studio. What can we look forward to?
Yeah, well, so I'm doing a tour with a couple of friends, and we were also releasing a single um, in like 3 weeks' time. So we're doing this tour and a single and a music video together, and they're just the best fun to hang out with. So I'm very much looking forward, mostly just to hang out with some friends on tour, and to get to play really beautiful venues across the UK, really gorgeous arts venues and spaces that are beautiful sound systems and beautiful audiences and just incredible looking as well. um, and so that's been selling really well. And and the single and the video will be fun to release too. It's a really fun song. So that song is called Big Bang Love, and we had a great time recording it and filming a music video. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then, as I say, getting back into the studio, I'm trying to finish an album, which is I'm definitely going to have released next spring. I keep saying this that it's going to be released, but it's like it's a really long process, this particular album, and there's been a lot of things that have delayed it, and but it feels like now it's the time and it's going to happen, and I'm excited to get these songs out because I've been sitting on some of them for a while, and some of them are brand new as well. So there's a whole range of different things in there, and some just incredible performances from my talented musical friends, and the producer I'm working with as well. He's really wonderful. So I'm really excited to have that released in the world. And I've got a music video shoot coming up for one of the songs for that. So the next 6 or so months is going to be a lot of touring first, and then the more studio, finishing up that. And then I guess more touring next year again, hopefully. So just planning a little tour around Germany as well in the spring. I did some touring there this year and it was really fun. So I'm looking forward to going back. And we'll see. I mean, there's also loads of other things going on, but I have a musical I'm writing as well. So that's also hopefully going to be getting developed and put on a stage in the next year or two. So
Wow, a lot is going on.
Yeah.
Kind of as we're closing up, time is running out. So where can we go and find all this? We've talked, but we haven't covered the right bits. So where can we go and find all these exciting projects as they're coming out?
For sure, yeah. Well, my website, of course, has my concert dates and my releases, and you can join my mailing list as well. So my website is www.daisychute.com, and you spell Daisy Chute DAISY, like the flower, and Chute CHUTE. And daisychute.com, and you can find me on social media too, of course. It's Daisy Chute Official on Instagram, on Facebook, I guess TikTok as well if you like that, and other places. So find me online and say hi, and listen to music on Spotify or Bandcamp or whatever you like to listen to. I have CDs, and I'd love to hear from people.
Perfect. That's really, really great. I'd just like to say, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been, giving us a lot of information for those who are learning to sing, for us here at home, just trying to know more about you and know about future, your background. It's been incredible. And we really want you to come back so we can hear all about this incredible journey you're going on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for the wonderful questions and for researching as well. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So until we meet again, Daisy.
Thank you.
Take care.
More music variety on Power Ace Radio.